What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. We're back. And today we're going to be talking about The Bad Batch, Season 3 trailer. We're a little late to the party, but, you know, we got jobs. And there's like 8 of you, so, you know, you get it when you get it. That's what happens. Glad to have you all here. We got a heck of a panel. We got Andy Mason, Josh Burchett, Michael B., and Taylor B. Oh, the gang's all here, man. I love it. And the gang has grown. The gang has grown.
Your man on the floor.
Josh Burchett, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Hey, welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Thanks.
A little bit about Josh. Josh is in the film industry. Josh makes movies for real, on purpose, outside of his backyard with cameras paid for by companies instead of relatives. And that is a true testament to his creative talent. But yeah, no, so Josh is amazing, and it's a real coup for us to get him on the program. Josh, have you ever worked in Star Wars?
No, but I have a lightsaber, and I have shook the hand of one Ewan McGregor.
Wow. So, I mean, you were starting out better than me, but I love it. I hit the wrong button because I fat fingered that. Hey, why don't you put that tattoo back up there? That's just not any lightsaber. That's a Revan lightsaber, isn't it?
It is. It's his.
Man.
It's his dark side saber, and
Yeah,
it's quite nice.
That is very, very cool. That's
Thank you.
I haven't gotten any tattoos yet, but that's a pretty interesting one. That one might be on my vision board. All right.
I can take mine off and give it to you if you want.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, that would be they make those in henna. That'd be cool. Hit up Inkbox maybe. Inkbox should sponsor the show. All right, we're drinking bourbon. We're having a good time. Okay. You know, we're having fun, but I do need to shift gears, unfortunately, because you know, Carl Weathers passed away today, and that is super, super sad. And I just want to take a minute to kind of metaphorically pour one out for the GOAT. If it was Predator, if it was Rocky, if it was, of course, Grief Karga, the dude is awesome. And Michael's taking a literal moment of silence to miss him. But yeah, seriously, it's a real shame. And I don't know how they're going to handle his character moving forward. I'd be very curious to see. But yeah, it'll be interesting. What do you guys think, Michael? Do you have any thoughts on how they're going to approach dealing with the loss of Carl Weathers?
I think the classy way to do it is to just let the character pass away between seasons. I think trying to resurrect him is always weird, and trying to force, like, here's some extra scenes that we threw together to, you know, have him shoehorn him into a couple episodes before they get rid of him is just, it's creepy. It's weird. I'd rather not.
So kind of like what they did with Carrie Fisher. We want to avoid that.
I'd like to avoid that personally.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really do. I was talking with my brother about it, and we were kind of just, you know, joking about how maybe we'll have it be like he's in his office or something, you know, like he's, you know, let his assistant take over.
Just constantly
like
busy.
Or write him out. Yeah. He's in the other room, you know. There's ways around it if they need to, but I don't know. I don't know that you can recast Carl Weathers. That would be a hard sell. But anyway, that was some unexpected and unfortunate news, but we won't linger there. We won't belabor that point. Just our sincerest sadness about that, and you know, pour one out for the GOAT here. But let's move on to the topic at hand. Bad Batch Season 3. It's coming very soon, February 21st, if I'm not mistaken. 21st, I think.
Yep.
We get 3 episodes. I assume everybody's watched the trailer, maybe within the last 10 minutes or so. Josh comes in the lobby here and he's just like, should I have watched this? It's like, no, it's a reaction show.
It was even worse. I didn't know it dropped yet, and I was like, oh, that's great. Let's watch that.
Yeah, so
That's why you gotta be
in the Discord discussing
Yes.
it with us.
It was
I was
posted no
gonna
less
say-
than 3 times.
I was gonna say subscribe to the Star Wars YouTube channel, maybe too, but yeah, the Discord's better. I would say just do that, so that way you get all of our commentary on it, and you can post memes. That's what we all do. But yeah, so let's just do broad strokes here. What's everybody's thoughts about this trailer, and how hype are you for season 3? We'll go around the room, and then of course we'll go through it and slice it up and talk about things we're most interested in. And Andy, I see your anxiety spiking, so I'm going to go the other way, and I'm going to say we'll start with Taylor, and then we'll go right to left. Taylor, what'd you think watching this one?
I thought the trailer was great. I think they do a really good job with their trailers. I'm curious to see. I'm sort of neutral on Bad Batch. I think they have some fantastic episodes. I loved the Camino arc. I
Same.
loved the last couple episodes of last season. But there are some episodes that also I think are even more childish than some of the initial Rebel episodes. So I'm like I said, I'm just sort of neutral. But the trailer looked great, and there's a couple things I'm looking forward to seeing that we can get into later.
100%. What about you, Michael?
I thought you were going to skip me because I already spoke. Thoughts. I had thoughts. The problem is I have a whole list of things, so broad strokes was a challenge. I'm with Taylor. I am neutral because she's right. As high as some of the best episodes have been, there were some kind of lame episodes. I remember that happened with the last season of Clone Wars 2. We were super hyped for this last season, and we kind of got several arcs that, in hindsight, were probably better than their initial reactions received, but they were definitely not what everybody was hoping for after the trailers. So try not to get hopes too high, but yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Mr. Burchett, what do you think?
Oh, I'm excited as much as I can be. I'm very
As all
excited
get out.
to see. It's all get out. I don't know if we can curse on this show, so I'm not.
I say, hey, here's the rule. I'll lay it out, right? We're SFW unless you really need to. Make it count.
Cool.
Don't just throw it in like overcooking seasoning or whatever, but make it count.
No salt, no Salt Bay with your words. I understand.
Exactly.
I am very excited for it. I think they can either do what they're doing, because I agree with Michael and Taylor about how the seasons have gone. I've loved them. I'm the kind of person that I am very analytical, and I have to be very analytical for work. So when I watch things that I just enjoy, I kind of turn off my analytical brain a little bit. So I love the seasons that we've had. Childish episodes, which I completely agree, but I think they can either keep going down the route they've been doing and how they formulate their season, or they can end on a really sad and open note, because it's the clones and they don't really get a happy story.
No,
So
you're
How
exactly
dare
right.
you?
There's
gonna be a happy story. There's gonna be one, and I'm
man,
waiting for it.
You don't know.
They definitely won't all die, probably.
We know that Rex lives and Wolf lives and Gregor lives. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's that.
yeah.
Andy, go ahead. Let's not
Palpatine lives,
ruin this momentum. Yeah. What do you think about it, Andy?
I'm so excited. I love the boys. I can't really, when I watched Rebels, I got that same impression too, that I think that everyone else got, that whoa, this might be too much of a kid show, or not too much, but more than I expected. And we all know that Rebels progressed and became a lot more mature and had some killer episodes. But with the Bad Batch, I didn't really get that vibe. Maybe I like kid shows. Maybe it didn't come off as a kid show to me for that reason. But I absolutely, I love it. And I'm in love with all of the clones stories. I want more of them. And I can't wait to see where it goes. Fee is a character. I can't wait to see where they take it. And I guess this is broad strokes, so I won't go too much deeper, but I'm just super thrilled and excited.
I'm just glad you said that, because I've got her in the in the slide deck, and I was like, that's Wanda Sykes' character, and I couldn't remember what her name was. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, dude.
But yeah, so I hearing people talk about it being childish and stuff, and I hear it, I agree. But I think your enjoyment of it and whether or not you're able to overlook that really comes down to one thing, and I'd love your guys' opinion on this take, is whether or not you resonate with Omega. Like I think a lot of the childishness and a lot of the, air quotes like goofier episodes, like what would be an R2D2 or Jar Jar episode in the Clone Wars, or Ezra episode, or Chopper in Rebels, is an Omega episode here. And I don't know why, but Omega just resonates with me, and I like her so much more than I think everyone else, or at least everyone present. And so what do you guys think? Taylor, especially, you were the one who voiced the childish critique there. The critique of the show, not that your critique was childish. Sorry, but yeah. So what do you what do you think about that? Does it come down to Omega mostly, or is it more than that?
Somewhat. I mean, yeah, I do think she's annoying most of the time. I'm sorry, Andy and Ed.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's fair, man. Like, yeah,
just
you just hate Kiwis. I get it.
Cool. We're gonna get canceled 2 episodes.
I know, it's like
I'm gonna get canceled 2 episodes into
it's
2024.
Unique racism. I appreciate that.
Okay. Saving myself and moving on. I don't think it's just her though. I think there are some episodes where just the premise to me is kind of childish, whether it's the pod racing episode, whether it's I want to say it was one of the ones in the mines where they were like going underground looking for stuff. So it's not just her. A large part of it is her, but I just feel like some of those episodes are fluff. Like their high episodes are highs. Like I'm always impressed, but then, like I said, some of the filler episodes, I'm just not that wild by.
And listen, jokes aside, like you are 100% right. Those episodes are there. I think a lot of times, the story writers would probably say it's there to take your foot off the gas and, give the characters space to breathe and all of that. But like, they're boring, man. Like a lot of times, like I remember in Rebels, the main one for me is when AP5 is like singing in space, and there's like, that was in the end too. That was in season 4, if I'm not mistaken. It was like right before the finale, and I'm like, what are we doing? And yeah, Michael put it in the Discord chat here. He said like, it's remember that it is a kid show, and that's exactly right. I mean, that's the main, to the extent that it's an excuse, that would be it, because it makes sense. It makes sense. Josh, you're the narrative. You're the filmmaker over here. What do you think? Speak to this, if you would.
I politely disagree, because I kind of love the fluff episodes more than the story in most shows, because I feel like, fluff episodes, which they are, and they're written to be that typically, you can find those really tiny micro world building elements that you don't typically get to have a lot of the times when you're following these fast paced stories. So some fluff episodes are good, some are not so good, but I always really enjoy them because they can have those tiny little elements or tiny little rules that you don't really get to experience or see outside of those more comical or childish episodes.
There's merit to what you're saying, but like, man, I don't know. I don't know. Those fluff episodes are real fluffy. The way you were talking there the whole time, I'm thinking like, man seems like he'd get excited by finding lint in his belly button. You know what I mean? It's just like,
no.
Like, oh yeah, you don't understand.
Josh, no.
This is treasure.
Hey,
no.
If it's like a weird colored lint, what are you gonna do?
No,
where did this come from?
He's like, there's glitter here, guys. I'm sorry, we're way off the rails, and by we I mean singularly me. But
On program.
Yeah, there's a button for that. No, look, every take is valid. Every take is valid. And look, this is what happened with Clone Wars, right? These episodes, when they don't have the pressure on them, like you said, Michael, the Martez sisters, they're good episodes. They're fun. I'm glad we get them. But yeah, you're there when you're hype and you're waiting, and last week made you cry. Then you get to spend time with Chopper, and a can of spray paint. It definitely takes the pressure off, and not in the best way. But okay, so now we did that. We did the broad strokes. Now let's get into the weeds a little bit more. Anything that jumped out at you guys that you want to talk about? We don't have to go in order of the trailer, because the trailer, I'm certain, didn't go in order of the show. But I've got screenshots, so you guys call out what you want to talk about, and I can pull it up. So, Michael, you're the one that had the most notes. I'll start with you.
So kind of, I hate the phrase dovetailing off, but dovetailing off of what you guys were just saying, I'm excited to like Omega finally, because there's a time jump, and I think in the trailer we see her visibly age. Something happens during the series, and she gets older, and I'm excited to see her mature. It almost looks like from the trailer, and I have a little guilty knowledge here because I watched the new Rockstar's review as well, and he pointed out that the trailer makes it pretty clear that it's likely Crosshair makes it out of Tantus before she does, and they have to go back and get her again. The way that even just the titles of the episodes make it really seem like there's a second sort of like they get somebody out and then they have to go get somebody else out, and it really seems like Crosshair is in all the images, whereas she's almost never in the shots together. So the thought is maybe Crosshair gets out, and then they have to go back and get her, but it takes a while, and it almost looks like she becomes less of a prisoner and more of a complicit party. Maybe she becomes sort of disgruntled against her team who left her there, and she becomes sort of angry and starts to just work with them. I don't know, but I'm either
Galen
way,
Airsoft probably is the way I took
yeah,
it.
maybe, but either way, I'm looking forward to her growing up. Not because I want this to not be a kid's show, but because her childishness is not aimed at me. I'm not the audience for that, and it gets a little grating, and so I'm hoping that we get a little less of that. Not to traumatize children with like a super serious show or everything, but like I'd like to like her character, kind of like Ahsoka moves from season 1 and 2 to season 3 and 4 and beyond.
Yeah.
Didn't like her at all in the first couple seasons, but obviously we all love Ahsoka now. So
Wow.
Taylor posted something in Discord and I can't understand that at all, but I'm going to let you speak to it right now.
It was a typo.
I stun locked. I was just like, dong.
I was just thinking he got a lot out of that trailer that
No, I
I
was
did
thinking
not
that
even.
too. I was
I was
thinking
like I
thinking
that.
said, I watched somebody else's analysis and I feel bad now, but I did the same kind of thing where I went back and I watched it and I kind of freeze framed. So I took notes for the
Okay.
things I had questions
I was
on.
like,
I'm
was
sorry.
Not
I
gonna
just
lie.
completely missing stuff?
No, so
Yeah.
the picture of Crosshair, I caught that one, but you're right. New Rockstars, he kind of went into a lot more. I kind of think he, I don't know. He didn't bring the same smoke that he normally does. Like a lot of the stuff. Like he didn't drop planet names. He wasn't dropping a lot of
Yeah,
the things that he normally did. And I
there's a
think
couple things he didn't bring up at all that I was very curious about. Like, and I don't know if you
go
have this
ahead.
picture handy, happen to, but there's that one shot we get of that really interesting, like arrowhead looking ship flying over a sort of pinkish horizon. What the heck is that?
Oh yeah, that's exactly the one. So he's
Like he
talking
even
about.
showed the clip and he didn't say anything about it. I was like, but well, who cares about this being the same planet as that? What's that ship? What is that thing? That's so interesting.
Let me try to find it. Yeah.
I
But
almost thought it
while I
was the
look for
Carrion Spike.
that,
I thought maybe it was
that
Tarkin's stealth ship, but
I don't
Googling it real
have it.
quick, everybody seems to think that the Carrion Spike looks exactly like the cloak ship from Clone Wars. I never
I
had
believe
that
it
impression
does.
from reading the book, but I guess apparently it does. So it could be like the front end of it if it separates somehow. But I don't know.
That's
Otherwise, we've never seen a ship like that before.
sorry.
It
I'm
almost
trying
it
to.
reminds me of the Inferno Squadron like light Corvette thing that they have, which looks like a super mini Star Destroyer. That's not it.
That's the planet. That it's not
Okay.
the one that you wanted to talk about, unfortunately.
No,
But
that's the
that was
planet he said looks kind of like Tatooine because of
yeah. Well,
the
so that was the interesting
architecture.
thing, right? This is funny because he said that, and again, the man's not an encyclopedia. He's rock
You're
solid.
the
I'm not coming
encyclopedia.
at them. I'm not coming at him, but I'm fairly certain this is Teth from the original Clone Wars movie that only Taylor likes.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure. I love it. I'm sorry.
I do
But
like it.
yeah, it's good. It's good in parts. And that was the part where they're taking the ATTEs and they're crawling up the wall and they're doing it to loud rock guitars. That's
And
the
they're
planet
ignoring the
that's
fact that
on.
this Padawan's wearing a miniskirt and this is an awkward sequence.
Correct. Yes, and I'm glad that they did, because if they had called that out, it might have made it worse. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah. So that's an interesting callback. If they do visit Teth for some reason or another, it would be kind of interesting if the season finale of the Clone Wars style art goes all the way back to the very beginning of the original movie. That would be very intriguing.
It's like
Um,
poetry. It rhymes.
it rhymes. Yeah, exactly. And never forget, Jar Jar's the key to all this.
Because he's a
um,
Dark Lord of the Sith, right?
exactly. Yes, you've nailed
Yeah.
it. So Josh, you're the freshest set of eyes we've had on this trailer. What jumped out at you?
I think just the tone of desperation is really prevalent throughout the trailer, and I'm always a sucker for characters that kind of embody chaos. So the fact that we get to see the bounty hunter, I don't remember his name at the moment,
Oh,
the
Cad Bane,
gentleman. Yes,
or
thank
yeah,
you. Yep, Cad Bane.
nailed it.
So I'm very excited how he's going to be fitting into this season. I think he's a good foil to a lot of characters that you end up loving. So I think it'll be a nice touch to have him in the story.
There's Cad for the
Yeah,
uninitiated.
buddy.
Coolest silhouette in the biz.
Yep, I've always liked the Doctor, Dr. Hemlock too. I think he's a good villain, so I'm excited to see how they're gonna use him to but make things worse for our heroes, but maybe even corrupt, like you guys were saying, maybe corrupt a certain young clone.
Armiga, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of looking forward to.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Michael, you mentioned the corruption angle, and Josh, you kind of doubled down on that. I don't buy it. I think it'll be a fake out, maybe like a season 7 Game of Thrones Sansa Stark type deal. Like I just don't see it going through. But maybe that's just my Omega rose colored glasses. I don't know. But at the end of the day, she is a child, so she's within her rights to get a little frustrated. But yeah, Andy, what jumped out at you, friend?
Oh, I couldn't control my face when Michael said you said you're ready to like Omega. Wow. That's my child. How could you and how dare
Omega.
you? No, I absolutely love Omega, and I have from the start, because I don't know. I see this as her story, not as I know it's called the Bad Batch, but I see this in a lot of ways as her story, and it goes back to like the goofy, more childish episodes we discussed earlier. And I think you're solid, Ed. Your take is solid that the level to which you can empathize with Omega will sort of set you on a path of appreciating or not appreciating certain episodes and elements of the show. And I just love her and adore her. And I see girlhood represented in Star Wars in a really cool way. I had other thoughts. What were they? When I watch the trailer, I'm kind of like lights and colors. Like I'm not really absorbing anything. So it was super cool to listen to you actually describe some elements of it, Michael, because those went right over my head. Um, yeah.
Man, I'm most excited for seeing Omega's journey. It's gonna be interesting because this is gonna seriously put her in a different spot than she's been, right? She's always had that family from the very beginning, and now she's isolated, and she's going to have to call on those lessons in the sort of belly of the beast. And the angle of her with the other clone, Emery, I think it is. Anyone know it? Yeah. Anyway, the other unaltered clone, like herself, that's going to be an interesting plot to keep an eye on, see how they interact, and also Nala Se. I mean, she, people were pointing out that she's not a prisoner, right? And I think Nala Se used her in that capacity on Camino. And so I wouldn't be surprised if she pulls something to where she's like, hey, this is my assistant. I need her to do this research and this, that, and the third. That could be very interesting.
I was
There's a
also
bunch of
gonna
other stuff. Go ahead, Andy.
I was gonna say I have sort of like a reverse opinion on Cad Bane because that's a character that I'm just so utterly bored by. He-
Wow.
I'm probably,
We're
and I
always
know
so
I'm
simpatico, and then you just like every
no,
fifth episode, you'll just clock me on the face.
I'm with you, Andy. I'm with you. I think he's an
Oh.
I think it's an overemphasized cowboy trope, and I don't need it.
right, and I'm sure that there's like a world of lore about Cad Bane that I don't know, but all I see is
There's
sort of
not.
like,
He's just cool.
okay, yeah, I just see a cool badass cowboy, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, but like, who is he? And that's what I love about in the Clone Wars. We see young Boba Fett. That's the first time I've ever cared about Boba Fett because I see him as a child. I see his upbringing, his innocence, his vulnerability, all the things we see in Omega that I just latch onto. Cad Bane, I don't really care. He's there. He's gonna shoot some blasters, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, but no, Michael, let's go ahead.
No, I brought this up in the Discord too, but there were
You're not
deleted
wrong.
episodes of Cad Bane and Boba Fett, and they explain the situation that leads Boba Fett to getting the dent in his helmet and sort of their grudge that we see in Mandalorian, but otherwise have never actually had explained. Like, we don't know why they have a grudge technically outside of these deleted episodes. So I said this in the Discord. I would love for them to shoehorn that into Bad Batch. I think it would make more sense being shoehorned into Bad Batch than it would into Tales of the Jedi, because that's really more Jedi. But I don't remember the context for that scene and if there are Jedi involved. So either way, I think they're going to move towards. They clearly haven't let Fennec Shand and Cad Bane go. So I think we'll get more young Boba Fett, and that'd be fun too. I'm much more in it for young Boba Fett than I am for more Cad Bane and Fennec Shand, the ageless.
Yeah.
I adore Cad Bane. I think he's awesome, but I will freely admit that as much as I have, kind of knee-jerkly clowned you, Andy, you're right. You're exactly right. He's not a very deep character, and to the point, to the extent that he has lore, as Michael pointed out, I didn't really enjoy that story either. Basically, the idea was like Cad Bane and Jango Fett were the best two, and they kept going over back and forth who's the best. And so Cad Bane was going to train Boba Fett to teach him everything he knows, so that they could have an ultimate standoff to see who's the best. And it's just like, all right, that's a weird little alpha match that you guys didn't need to have, but okay, cool. Have fun with your machismo. So yeah, I mean, he's all looks, and he looks cool, and it's fun to see him kill things, and I enjoy that. But Taylor put into the group chat to not forget her, so I haven't. Taylor, what you want to say?
I don't know. Michael also had a point. If it's regarding this discussion, he can go first before I say what I'm most looking forward to. But he's like, no, okay, cool. So to no surprise to this panel and anyone who's listened and knows I'm the Legends fanatic, I'm very interested to see what they do with Wayland, or what we are assuming is Wayland, because we see
it is. We're not assuming it. Yeah, it was in the
okay.
notes.
Have they
so,
confirmed that?
Yes.
I lose track of what they have confirmed and what I just know from books.
Yeah, we're cooking.
And have decided it's canon regardless whether or not Disney agrees with me. But yeah, so I'm really curious to see what they do and if there are any other Legends tie-ins there. And then the only other thing I think would be interesting, while we're talking about the bounty hunters, we see so many bounty hunters in Empire, just lined up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Darth Vader sending people out to look for Solo, right?
Yeah, the Millennium Falcon. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's been too long. I need to do a rewatch. But I think it would be interesting to see some of those people like as younger, because it's 2019-ish, years before.
Mm-hmm.
It would be curious to see some of those people like as newish bounty hunters and start introducing them. So that could be a cool tie into the series. So like I love Cad Bane. I really do. I do agree that he's overused. And I just think that they have a lot of other bounty hunters they can pull from.
Yeah, I mean, we got to see a handful of those folks in the Clone Wars, but yeah, I'd be interested to see the rest of them. Maybe that's a good way they could show up. To your point about Wayland and Mount Tantus, I was leaving that for you, um, uh, but yeah, 100%. I am so excited for any and all connections. And honestly, it's going to be interesting because I feel like this season has a real potential to be the somehow in
Mhm.
somehow Palpatine returned. Like I really feel like that's what they're starting to do here. Like this was the plan. And then maybe the clones mess it up. Maybe they go out in a blaze of glory and ruin it. And so he gets delayed and he has to go to Exegol and, start anew with the Sith Eternal and conjuring of all kinds of I love Rise of Skywalker. But yeah. So Michael, you put something in the chat. Show of hands, who thinks Tech is dead? Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not buying it. Nar, nar, tick. Because we thought Echo was dead too, right? So I mean, it's just.
But his death was also like the way they killed him off made it almost sure that he was actually dead, because they didn't even care about it. He just died in a random episode. And you're like, which clone was that? Oh, that was Echo, right?
Yeah,
That was one
yeah.
of the batch that like they all died at some point. So nobody had any thoughts that he possibly survived. They definitely retconned their own show, but that's fine. I'm all here for it. That's cool.
Of all the characters to bring back, yeah, I wasn't.
Yeah.
At least they acknowledged it and made him
not
have
the only
side
character they are bringing back.
We'll get there. We'll
Segue.
get there. We're not there yet. Speaking of some of the other high points to the trailer, I want to talk about the Commandos. Getting to see so many more Republic Commandos. We saw them already on Wayland, but I'm very excited to see if we get a few more. We've gotten Scorch. Maybe we'll get a couple more of the old boys. We'll see.
I need to read those.
Yeah, those books are solid. Their lore is not at all relevant to current canon. Karen Travis she was one of the first ones to get really thrown outside when the Clone Wars was happening, and that was before they did away with Legends. But they were just kind of like, yeah, I see it. I see what you've done there, and it's solid. But
they're phenomenal.
Yeah, we're going in a different direction, Karen. You're part of a permanent.
They're legends of legends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's unfortunate. She's definitely one of my favorite Star Wars authors, and it's a shame that she never got a chance to do anything in the canon universe, because I'd be there for it. I also want to shout out to getting to see the Emperor. It's pretty cool to see that he's there. That's probably another reason why so many are convinced that it's the tie-in to, if it's Project Necromancer or whatever, whatever brings his ass back. It'll be interesting. Getting to hear Ian McDiarmid's voice is always just the treat of treats. It's amazing. I will never get sick of it. One of the other interesting things that people pointed out was that that super spiffy clone. I think we saw him in the end of season 2 or the tail end of season 2, and the subtitles had him called CX1. He kind of looks like Great Value Crosshair. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of bring that around. And the other thing I want to talk about before we address the big ending is Bad Batch always has such a special place in my heart because, like, I think judging by all of our relative ages, the prequels is what most of us grew up on, right? The Erics of the world, you know, they are familiar with the originals. They were kids when that came out, you know, but I didn't get that. I didn't get that chance. You know, they were VHSs we watched, and I was like, "This is amazing. This is really cool. I see what everybody's toys are." And now I'm gonna move on to all this super awesome lightsaber combat, and that was everything that I cared about. And so, like, growing up, you know, Battlefront 2 comes out, the clones, everything. I lived and breathed the Galactic Republic from, you know, age 12 to present day. And so this show, getting to see that iconography, all those weapons systems, all the clones themselves just being turned, right? Like that, seeing it go from a symbol of hope where maybe there was some underlying tension there, but like they were always the good guys, right? And that's what you wanted to see, was an ATTE on the battlefield, you know? And then so to getting to see that used as a symbol of oppression, that being the sort of fascist military, and how it just happened so quickly. And watching those symbols sort of rot and turn, and, you know, watching how it affected places like Ryloth in season 2, you know, and getting to see like Hauser's journey and all that. You know, I think this show has always coincided with seasons of my life as well, right? So, like, you know, going through a lot of personal change when season 2 came out, and so getting to see a lot of those things, like, it always just really, really strongly connected with me. And so when the trailer for season 3 came out, just getting to see all this stuff and knowing that it's going to be probably a at times dark and pretty sad journey, and it'll probably mess with you at the end, but kind of bookending this era, getting to kind of wrap it up. I can tell this one's definitely gonna, or it has the potential to really take me on an emotional ride, and I'm sure that's the same for everybody else. But all right, screw it. Let's do the big thing at the end there. They drop the bombshell on us, and they end with this little clip here. And Ventress is back. Oh, I was off the camera. I didn't get to see whoever that was squeal, but I bet it was Andi.
I don't know. That was weird.
Michael, are you squealing again?
Guilty.
So, Andi, your first book was Dark Disciple, is that right?
Yes, first
Okay.
and favorite.
Yes. So you are all sides of this dilemma. You love Ventress more than most things. You seemingly very excited to see her, but you also supremely value that story and its impact. Spoiler warning, we're going to spoil Dark Disciple. It's a really good book. I would still recommend reading it no matter what they do in this show. You've been warned. It's all over the internet. I'm sure we're not the ones ruining this for you. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Ventress dies at the end of that thing. She dies
totally.
like for sure. Like
Hard.
no way out. She's dead. Like, check the pulse, do an autopsy. She's dead. And
they didn't even like bury her body in one of those convenient above ground pod things. They like dumped her in a river.
They
were like, we know she.
Yeah.
They were like, we know corpses come back, so we're gonna do it a different way, so you know that she is dead.
She's a night sister. No?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want your opinion, Andi, on this whole journey that you must have went on when you saw her. What are your thoughts on the old Ventress kerfuffle?
Well, I as much as I love Dark Disciple, love Bad Batch, I don't get too hung up on timelines, so I was just like, that is so cool. That's so cool that she's there. Wait. And then I'm reading the comments, I'm like, oh shit, I should text Ed, and you had already texted me or something like that, and you confirmed for me that that it doesn't really make sense.
I think I put it in the group chat that I was like, yeah, this is weird, Michael, I'm saying it so you don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with Josh. She's a night sister buried, so to speak, on Dathomir. Possibilities are endless. There's so much more that we don't know than we do know, I feel like, about Dathomir Night Sisters. I haven't read the books though, so there's you guys probably know a whole lot more than I do. But I'm hopeful that whatever they do, it makes sense. It's not abrupt. Whether it be a resurrection or it be, I think like Michael B mentioned, maybe a time jump from the past. I don't know. I hope, like I said, I hope it makes sense and is interesting to watch. And I'm pretty hopeful. I'm pretty optimistic for whatever reason. I don't have a terrible feeling about it, but who knows?
What about you, Josh? I haven't called on you in a while. What do you think about this whole situation? I know you haven't read the book, have you?
I've read Dark Disciple, but
What?
I haven't read anything else.
Man, it's like peeling an onion with this cat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know what they're going to do with her. And when things in Star Wars and they do things that I'm like, I don't know about that, I kind of just wait to see, and then I just happily accepted how they want to tell it, or put it into the story they're making, or be like, that's crap, and call them out on it. So I don't know how I feel about this yet. I'm excited, like Andy is, to see her in this season, but I don't know. I mean, they've kind of done a trend where they go back and have lengthy um, dreams, or force visions with Anakin and Ahsoka, and they might be doing something like with that with Ventress, but who knows?
Interesting. Yeah, the Force Vision thing is out of left field for me, but that could work. There is precedent for it.
Yeah.
Michael and or Taylor, anybody have any additional thoughts on this Ventress thing that you want to share?
I have plenty of thoughts. Taylor, what do you have?
Okay, so I have not read Dark Disciple. I did not know Ventress was dead. That being said, I reject canon anyway, so like the fact that they're screwing with canon doesn't particularly bother me. I love Ventress. I love seeing her. I just was like, cool, she's back. Um, I mean, it's sort of like the same. Y'all asked the question about Tech, right? I mean, on one hand, I want him to be dead because like that gives gravitas to
Mm-hmm.
the moment in the episode, and I think it's what's right. However, I don't think any of us have any faith in Disney to not resurrect characters over and
Yeah.
over and over. So yeah, I like Ventress. I thought it was cool to see her. I don't particularly care that they're screwing with the timeline because I don't pay attention to it anyway.
Listen, like,
Taylor is moisturized, unbothered, not worried, and I
I'm
absolutely
just
love it.
saying.
She is hydrated.
Just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, just an unfettered, uncomplicated joy at seeing her because there's none of
I
that.
don't want to. I'm sorry. I don't want to be there. For all the time and effort that some of us invest in canon, I don't want to get to the point where I'm just completely unfazed every time they walk all over their own timeline. But
Yeah,
I mean, the
I
fact that the
agree.
showrunners more or less promised that it will not retcon the book,
Mm-hmm.
that's really comforting. So if they do it as a flashback, awesome. Maybe they meet Quinlan and Quinlan's telling them a story. That'd be cool. We didn't really get flashbacks in Star Wars until Last Jedi. It wasn't a film tactic they actually used. Was flashbacks. We saw like future forward looking sort of things, but we never actually saw. Or I'm sorry, it wasn't Last Jedi. It was Force
Yeah.
Awakens. That was the first time we saw like a backwards looking at something that none of the main characters were there for, and we saw. So that was interesting. But you're right, Josh. It could easily be something like that. I don't think so, though. I think she's going to be very much alive. I don't know. I don't know how she's going to do it, because it can't be the same. It can't be the same. That's what New Rockstars is like. Well, they resurrect people, but like every time we've seen them resurrect somebody, there's been a lot of green smoke involved at very least. And I hate to be that guy that's constantly like, well, that's not how Star Wars shields aren't bubble shields. That's not how we do it in Star Wars. Well, it is now, but
That's
I
a
hate
great
dealing
Michael
with that.
impression.
I know. I hate doing that every single time. We're like, well, but you established the rules for how this works, and then you break your own rules, and
Yeah.
you're like, well, but this is how it works now. I get tired of it.
Hmm.
So I don't know. But
No, I'm with you,
yeah,
man. I'm with you 100%. I think thematically it is freaking awesome that Ventress is here, right? Ventress with Quinlan, like the whole, again, talking about the Clone Wars, breaking so many things and being a
just
shell of your
bring
former
in
self, having to become
Ahsoka
someone
and
new. Yeah, like there's
everybody.
all
All
kinds of,
Rex
but
was
like
there.
I, I mean, we don't see Ahsoka, and I doubt we will. But like, who knows? You're right. But like, I think thematically, especially like the tie-in of like Ventress with Omega, seeing like kind of her being a kind of guidepost for her potentially, like cast aside by what she knew and broken by the war, different masters, different families, and really being left alone by all of it. Like, this is awesome. And you could see Quinlan and you could see the start of the path, and just because we know Quinlan survives, right? So
Mhm.
because of Kenobi. So listen, we could get awesome, awesome stuff here. And it's like they realized that, and then they were like, "Oh shit, we killed her," you know. Yeah, I think you guys are exactly right. It's like I want her back too. I'm glad she's back, and Dave Filoni's thing of like follow the story. I get it, but Michael, you're exactly right. I do not want to get to where like this is DC Comics where there's like 15 different universes and it all Batman is a state of mind or whatever. Like I don't want that. I don't. I really want Star
I don't
Wars
mind
to
if
have some semblance of canon.
yeah. Oh, and I don't mind if this just becomes Tales of the Jedi, kind of like Visions, where if Tales of the Jedi and Visions are just sort of these like retellings of stories that are
Mhm.
not 100% accurate but are high level, overview of things that happen. That's fine because then they can show us some interesting things without really having to worry about the fine details. But like
Hmm.
relegate it to something of that category. Don't keep it in don't keep it in the canon stuff. So, I don't know.
I like Josh. You had the most salient point, which is just like let's just wait and see what happens. I find myself saying that often. You have more to add?
I
More
do.
bars? Okay,
Um,
drop them.
so, I grew up with the prequels too, and if that is still true, I'm going to take a hot take in a second. But that is true Star Wars because it's made by George Lucas. So it's, OG Star Wars. And, when they started making stuff again without his um, exact control over the entity of the stories and everything, um, you really had to be like kind of lessen your grip as a viewer to try to embrace how someone else was going to tell the story. And I think good Star Wars, because there's bad Star Wars out there, but I think good Star Wars still relegates itself, like you were saying, Ed, to a set of rules and how things in the universe actually work. And whenever there's a new entity or something new coming into Star Wars, I always have to, for myself, have to kind of pull myself away. And then when it's out, I can actually be critical of it. But until it's there, I'm not going to, you know, give it a doubt or say it's going to be wrong because I don't know. Because I don't know if
Mhm.
they're going to actually stick to like hardened rules of how Star Wars works, and that's kind of why a lot of people connect with it because it has laws, and when you kind of break those, you kind of break the magic of like this is a universe that is functioning and working and like real, and that's for me a disconnect when certain Star Wars stories or sets of three movies that were made by two different directors kind of break those rules. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it was funny. You said there's good Star Wars and there's bad Star Wars, and I was going to say, yeah, I'm sure we all agree on what those things are without discussing it. Um, but yeah, I think you're right that every time Star Wars pushes things, it definitely can be uncomfortable at times, and sometimes it pushes things in a way that seems reverential to what came before. and other times it can very much come off as irreverent, and that's where a lot of the frustrations come in. I would push back and say, to your point about rules, like I think there's a lot more things that are suggestions than rules.
Mhm.
Michael and I talk a lot about how this has never been science fiction, right?
Mhm.
Like his Battlestar Galactica makes a lot more sense than than Star Wars does from
Mhm.
like a scientific standpoint, or even mechanical consistency, right? Like plot dictates a lot of how hyperspace works, right? Is one of the main
Mhm.
examples. But yeah, you're right. Like that's why hyperspace skipping really broke me. It was just like, okay,
Mhm.
this is a really big straw for me that I just can't. It seems like you're just. It seems
There
intentional at
wasn't
this
even like a
point.
technological explanation for it. There wasn't like, oh, we modified the ship to break the laws of physics or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It was just like, oh, yeah, we could always do this.
You're
But
literally contradicting the OG movie.
Yeah, exactly.
just do that.
It's yeah, it's very annoying. Like again, these things, there's scales, and
Mhm.
I often find myself defending some of the liberties taken. But that one I think is a prime example of like I've yet to find somebody that is excited about that, and
Mhm.
other than just like, oh, that's cool, like it looks
Mhm.
pretty, I guess. But and again, fair enough. This is supposed to be fun, so I'll allow it. But it, to your point, Michael, like I'm sitting here reading all these novels, the least you could do is like acknowledge, and again, to their credit, they did, right? So we need to just take a breath and see. But if they just whimsically bring her back and bring Tech back and everything, it's like, why are we watching this stuff? Just read the Wikipedia until they retcon it, But yeah.
They can't mess with Legends anymore, guys. Come over to the dark side.
Listen,
It's like,
okay,
they can't screw me over any more than they already did, so I just stick with
Taylor.
what I know.
Legends ain't never made sense. I love that stuff almost as much as you do, okay? But we are firmly in a glass house if we're talking about continuity and things making sense. Legends was a jungle.
I'm not
Amen.
claiming that I'm not claiming that it wasn't. I'm just saying
Okay.
they can't screw with it anymore.
You're right.
You
You're
wouldn't.
right. It's
You
it's
wouldn't.
dead. They
You
can't
wouldn't
kill
say
it again.
that to a using Vong's face, Ed. So it's okay. All right. You wouldn't do it.
Josh,
I wouldn't.
that camera, you can actually see the mirror. Thank you. Fist bump.
Man, we were, as just a fun little aside, we were this close to getting the Vong in Clone Wars like 2 or 3 times. I talk about it a lot, and I'm like, man, oh, what a world. That would have been really, really cool.
It's so
Would've been
cool.
You
really
mean
cool.
the Grisk?
Hey,
Michael,
now as
no one's
another
talking to you.
aside, we're going way off the rails, but Michael brings up the Grisk from the Thrawn books. They're doing a comic book adaptation of Thrawn Allies now. Which means that we're very likely to get our first look at what the Grisk look like, which is very exciting for me and other Griskies. All
Other
right,
nerds.
I don't have much else. Anybody else have any parting thoughts, or are we just super dang excited for this Bad Batch? Josh, put your
Nor
hand up.
other thoughts.
No, that's for Andy. You go ahead, Josh. You're
Oh,
welcome to
teams.
talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, as a first time guest, I got a rec for you guys. Because
Okay.
I just found out about this and I'm very excited. So, in 1981,
If you recommend another Star Wars podcast, I swear to God. If you recommend a better Star Wars podcast, I swear to God.
This is my first and last episode then. In 1981, the BBC released a real Star Wars audio drama of episode 4, 5, and 6, and I just learned about them, and I'm very excited.
Oh,
So if you guys haven't,
I've listened to them on
good.
cassette tape.
Yep, I
Nice.
knew about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Ed, if you haven't listened to them yet, it's not a podcast.
Wow, yeah, that is interesting. I haven't heard that.
They had the actual
I had
soundtracks in there too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
I used to go to sleep to the wonderful music of the Ewoks,
How do you get it? Is it like
It's on
is
YouTube.
it
Also, I'll put
is
the
it?
links
Okay.
in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
pop it
6
in the
hours, and they had a
Discord.
lot
That'd
of
be
the
great.
actual voices. Well, some of the actual voices.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, because I remember listening to like those early 2000s, late 90s Dark Disciple. No, not Dark Disciple. Dark Forces audio dramas. You remember like the Kyle Katarn, speaking
Mhm.
of legends being a jungle, talking about the early incantations of like or iterations of how Force ghosts worked and the Jedi lore and Rusan and everything. I mean, those were wild and not always good, but
I
it was
still
what you
don't know
had at
how.
the time.
I still
It
don't
took
know
them
how
a little
Force
bit of
ghosts
time to
work.
find their footing.
That's true.
Sorry, Andy.
Both of what you said is true. Yeah, I don't think anyone knows how Force ghosts work, Andy. I think you're exactly right. And to your point, Taylor, yeah, it was wild in the 90s. You read like the Zahn books, and you talk about the Clone Wars in Dark Fleet Crisis or Dark Force Rising and stuff, and it's
Mm.
just it's very different. You have to squint very intensely to try to form continuity there between what came later. But
I
but
look
in
forward to
any
seeing y'all
event,
have the same struggle.
golly, the Schadenfreude out of this one. Jeez, she's like, hey.
Sorry, I'm in a mood tonight.
I'm just saying, like you're like they can't kill my thing because they already killed it. So now they're gonna kill your thing, and you're gonna get to see how it feels.
I don't
Oh,
wish
I'm
that
so.
on anyone.
Oh
Does
yeah,
this
no.
does this mean that Star Wars Legends is the ultimate Force ghost?
Oh, Josh on here with the metaphysical question.
I mean,
Oh,
hyperspace skipping basically it like introduced multiple dimensions and things like that, and now we have different galaxies. So why not? We got time travel. We've got multiple dimensions, multiple realities, and well, I guess we're still waiting for the Star Wars multiverse. I'm still Josh. You don't know. My stipulation has been I will finally read the Heir to the Empire trilogy and all the good Legends books the moment they introduce Star Wars multiverse. As soon as they do that, I'm down. But until they do, I've seen a lot of suggestions for Star Wars what ifs, and I'm actually down for that. I thought the Marvel ones were pretty decent for the most part.
Yep.
I would be super down for what if Anakin didn't, or what if Qui-Gon didn't, or all these kind of things. It would be really cool.
Yep. There is in Legends. There is zombies, like actual zombies. So
there's
I mean, we had
legends in
zombies
canon
in
now. Let's be
Ahsoka now,
real.
so
Yeah.
Read that book at 1
Yep.
a.m. Not a wise choice.
Dun, 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 boo. Yeah. That's Legends was wild. You had a talking sentient mountain that cried. That was the one that I always go back to. That's my favorite. Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah, it's great, Taylor. It's great. It was in one of the comics, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. I didn't get into the
Yeah,
comics as much.
it was awesomely bad. But also like let's do it, right? You've got Luke and all that Jaruba Sabayoth. So there's even the
we hate on all the
greats had some
cloning
weird
stuff, and
ones.
somehow Palpatine returned. But let's be real, Palpatine always somehow
Luke,
returned.
right? Dark
Yeah, he
Empire brought
always
him back.
force jumped into old clone bodies. Nobody should have really been surprised. The only reason everyone's butthurt about it is because that wasn't the plan all along.
Exactly.
Hey, at least there was a
Yep.
little bit of explanation beforehand.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're not gonna. No one's gonna be
Those
caught
stuff.
dead defending Rise of Skywalker. Hey, if you're a fan of that movie, this is a
you mean
casting
my
call.
favorite? You mean my favorite movie?
Yeah,
I'm waiting for
just
Luke's
said,
hand to show up in the Mandalorian movies or something, though. Like that's going to be hand in a jar. Maz Kanata is going to have the lightsaber for some reason. It's the whole thing.
I do want Maz back. I want they have
Yeah,
criminally
what about talk
underused
about a
Maz.
wasted character?
Honestly, she should be everywhere.
Chewbacca's
She should
girlfriend,
be
man. Come on.
everywhere. Lupita Nyong'o can do no wrong. I need more Lupita Nyong'o. Anyway, all right.
Can I make an inflammatory comment before we leave here? Just drop a mic really quick.
Please. He's gonna be like,
Shoot, I
Star
already.
Trek is better. Goodbye.
While he works on that, I'm gonna pitch something, and I need Andy's support because it's her favorite character. I need a Maz becoming besties full montage with Omega in this new season, and
Oh wow.
we will die
I
on this.
I absolutely support it.
And
Cool.
Fee introduces her, right? Fee
Of
introduces Maz to
course.
Omega, and they just hit it
Wow.
off, and they're
Yep.
besties.
Yep.
And they have girl time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Sleepovers.
this is a good segue into my inflammatory comments. I apologize in advance. I don't like Fee, the character, like at all. And
It tracks, Michael. It tracks.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I love Wanda Sykes, but I cannot separate the actress and everything else she's been in from the character in the show. To me, it's like it's the same feeling of seeing Jack Black and Mando. I'm like, I don't care how hard you try to make this work, it's still Jack Black. And so I'm like, I can't do it. I hope that they fix that in this season, but her in the previous season, I was just like, no, I can't. She's still a comedian. I love her and all the other things she's in, but it's just her voice is so distinctive. I just cannot separate it from the live action thing. So this is my
that
hot
means
take.
your problem's not really with the character, it's more with the choice. So that's
yeah. Oh
like,
no.
Well, I mean, I don't think that they've done anything with her character necessarily either, but
Ooh.
How'd you feel about like Mayfeld, or did that one?
I
land
liked
more,
Mayfeld,
or?
but see, I didn't know him as a comedian before, and I thought that originally he was a cameo, but they decided to actually make him a good character. So I didn't know Bill Burr before that. I had no context. So if I didn't know Wanda Sykes, I probably wouldn't mind her character nearly as much. I might still be like, why is this random character here? But like, I wouldn't be kind of just like off put by her being somebody I already know. But in Bill Burr's case, I had no idea, so it was fine. Actually, it's more Clancy Brown playing basically every character in every show. Everything is more off-putting, and I love Clancy Brown, but like, I'm like, Mr. Krabs, come on, dude. Savage, come on.
Does he
a
sound
Ryder,
the same
come on.
to you, though? Like, I don't see that as problematic, because I can't really.
It's not as
discern that
much
it's him every time. Yeah,
I don't know. He has a really distinctive voice to me too, but that more isn't just because he's so many characters in Star Wars. He's like 4 or 5 different characters, and not even just like background voices. Like he's Savage primarily, among other characters, and that's kind of like to keep reusing his fairly distinctive voice. I don't know. It's a silly nitpick, but I'm just thinking of her character because she's so primary in the Bad Batch. Now I'm just like, I have a hard time with it.
I think they haven't developed her character enough that since you do already recognize who she is, you don't have a reason to be like, oh, now I should connect and care about her.
Well,
because to play the opposite of what they're doing with her, because they haven't given her an arc yet. What they did do with the Bill Burr comedian is they actually gave him character development and an arc, and like, so I knew who he was beforehand, and when he showed up, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever, cameo. And then they actually gave him development and substance, and I was like, okay, like I now know you as this character, and I feel comfortable with that and staying and paying attention to you instead of being outside of this world waiting for you to leave the screen.
But to your point, Josh, if they did sort of start to introduce that with her character, I remember now, especially with her and Tech. So if Tech's not dead, or if he remains dead for a little while, and they actually dwell on that, they give her some feelings, and they don't just like have her ignore the fact that he's dead. Maybe I will feel something for the character. I think but up to this point, I'm just like, she didn't really add anything to the story for me.
I think a lot of the time when you have a character that has all these connotations already on top of them, and you don't hit that point of them doing something that connects with you at the end of the story or near the end of their story, then their character as a complete character was a failure. But when you have an actual resounding end to them, regardless if it's happy or not, I think a lot of people, when they're just casually watching, forgive all of the the crap that they went through with this character that was boring in the previous seasons. And Ahsoka's a good example of that because we love her now, but she was very boring and annoying to some people for the first 2 seasons. So if you do your cards right and you play your timeline right, it's going to work great. If not, you're going to end up with, crap.
Well, I think kind of to bring this all the way back to the beginning, when you look at all of the articles about Carl Weathers dying, the fact that he's identified as both Apollo Creed and the character from Mandalorian, it sort of speaks to that, because in the first season he's there a couple times, but he doesn't have a lot of character to him, and they really did put in the work, and he is developed, and he became sort of this beloved Star Wars character. And if they hadn't done that, they wouldn't really identify him as, oh, the guy from Mandalorian. He would just be Apollo Creed. And there's nothing wrong with that, but he definitely sort of became a character in his own right, separate from other things he played. So you're totally right, Josh.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was never really that jarred by Wanda Sykes' character. I definitely saw it a lot more with the Lizzo and Jack Black, and especially Doc.
Jack Black's turn, man. We need a backstory. Come on, Jack Black.
I liked him.
His character
more
actually
than
had kind of.
I liked him. Yeah, I did. I liked him. I didn't really like. God, I'm blanking on freaking
Lizzo?
Doc's name.
Oh, no.
I know. I appreciate that Michael had Lizzo sitting right there, and he was like, "I really had issue with Jack Black," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, way to dodge your own bullet there." But yeah, no, I'm sure you're a big fan. Yeah, no, I'm interested to see what they do. I think she's got the potential for a huge arc because, like you said, they were setting up the relationship with Tech, and to my knowledge, I can't remember the finale crystal clear, but I don't know that they got a chance to, we got a chance to see her post that, right? So so that'll be very, very interesting to see and see how she and Omega, interact if and when that gets to happen. I think the planet is Pabu, right? If I'm not mistaken, that they're on that sort of oasis planet. Maybe I got that wrong. Sorry. Pretty sure it's Pabu though. But either way, that was like meant to be this beautiful oasis, and there were a lot of people theorizing that was going to be, kind of the place where the clones could hang out, right? And then when you look at it, there's that shot where all the clones have landed. And there's like skiffs and stuff, and that was one of the things that New Rockstars kind of glossed over. But that's Pabu. That's that planet. So the Empire found it, and we can't have any nice things, man. It's sad.
You're right. That is the planet name too.
I feel like. Oh, thank you. Oh, cool. Way to go. Way to go, limbic brain. I was not confident in that at all. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I'm very excited. And, I've tried to end this broadcast 2 or 3 times. I think we'll leave it here. We're going to take a couple of weeks off. Your boy's traveling. But then, yeah, we'll be back. And I think these things come out on Wednesdays again. So get ready for more hotel broadcasts. You're going to get them again. You're going to get my initial thoughts, and then we'll do weekly shows talking about these episodes. And I can't wait. It's always so much more fun doing this when there's fresh content to debate and dive into. So I'm sure we're all really excited. Josh, thank you for coming on, man. It was a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome back. Yeah, you're welcome back. Please come back. And of course, the same goes for the OGs. We appreciate everyone. And follow the Discord. All right. Love you guys. Have a good night. Thanks for the show. Thanks for stopping by. Follow the Discord. And if you could, do all the YouTube stuff. Leave us a like. Drop us a comment. Let us know whether or not you think new canon is better than Legends. No. Let us know whether they're going to screw this all up or if it's going to be amazing, and whether or not you find Omega annoying, and if Wanda Sykes is just too much. Too much. Go back. All right. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time. On program.
On program.